My wedding was almost ruined by my narcissistic family, so we stopped inviting them to parties.
Whew! That was a close one. They almost ruined your wedding.
Party rockers no longer in the house tonight.
That's nice. Hey.
My husband, 33 male, and I, 27 female, got married in 2019. I had had my wedding planned in my mind and through Pinterest boards since high school, and at the ripe age of 21, I knew what I wanted. The planning was simple, and in the end, we only spent about 10,000 Canadian dollars for our small town, 120-person wedding. Colors were our favorite colors, red and that Tiffany teal. By the way, this comes from user Seatune97, and you can submit your stories at r/OK storytime. So, we had lots of family help. Mother-in-law and father-in-law covered catering. Stepdad covered 50% of the venue. Mother bought the gown. Father covered chair rentals, and grandma bought a cupcake display. We were fortunate enough to have a family friend who used to be a professional party and wedding planner do our wedding flowers and decorations for the ceremony as a wedding present. For context, on my family side, I was the first granddaughter and the first one to actually get married besides my grandma, who was on her second marriage. As planning was underway, there was invite drama for both sides of the family. However, my husband's side was small potatoes. My grandma has textbook narcissism and boozism. She's the kind that when she starts drinking, she gives the worst unwarranted advice. She had an issue that I wasn't wanting to invite all three of her sisters. Now, don't get me wrong, they are lovely people, but I just wanted close family and friends, and I never really felt close to my great aunts. Another person I really don't want to invite was my maternal uncle, who's also a narcissist and uses substances. Begrudgingly, from pressure from my mom and grandma, we agreed to invite him despite going against our better judgment. Some backstory for my grandma. She grew up in a very old-fashioned way where boys were always considered priority and favored. Growing up, I never felt that strain, possibly because I was the first grandchild. However, growing up, my mom felt that between her and her brother was always babied and was always given everything he wanted, and my mom was always expected to do the chores and the housework. Grandma has always been super hypercritical of my mom, always giving unwanted advice. You should XYZ. Especially when she drank. She always had a grandiose idea of her life, always tried to have the best house, the best car, paint herself in the most prestigious light. However, her and my grandpa are unlikely to be able to retire unless they sell their house at 75, a house currently for sale that is extremely overpriced. The invite drama definitely put a stain on the relationship between my grandma and myself. So much so that the real drama began. My wedding was in August of 2019, and in May 2019, my grandmother announced that she would be doing a vow renewal for her 26th wedding anniversary to take place 2 weeks before my wedding.
Oh, wow. That's not going to cause any problems.
No. Grandma's just seeing it as a, everyone's going to be there, so might as well just do it.
Yeah, everyone's going to be there for your day, so I figured I might as well make it my day 2 weeks earlier.
I was livid and hurt, but being a people pleaser, I didn't want to fight it. I had no issues showing my distaste by leaving early. Of course, that stirred the pot. I threatened to uninvite her entirely, and just as equally she threatened to show up anyways, as I was having my ceremony in a public park. I can't quite remember what happened as I blacked out those memories, but somehow, some way, I got an apology from her and allowed her to be at the wedding. Could you imagine?
She's
I don't remember, but I guess.
You're the grandma, CIA, hypnosis on you. She, implanted a false memory in your head of you getting an apology.
My uncle is another story. In his mind, he was a father figure to me because my mom and I had lived with him for a year when I was a baby. To me, he was that weird uncle growing up, but still fun, but also only half-assed everything he did.
It's funny. He's like, I raised you. In a literal sense, I picked you up and I raised you up off the ground and I put you back down.
I'm your father now. I'm your father. I raised you literally and figuratively.
I did the Simba. I did it. I did the Simba. I hold you up.
Yeah.
You're mine.
I can remember being 10 or 11 years old, and my mom had us kids write letters to have an intervention like that show they used to have on TV.
What? Your mom's having you stage... your mom's having you write intervention letters for your uncle?
Kinda.
At 10?
Well, of course, back then it was only booze as far as I knew, and it has since progressed to other substances. Despite his poor choices, He was never mean and was harmless. At the engagement party, he tried to pull me aside to ask if I really wanted to get married and how my husband better not hurt me. He had his own marriage blow up in his face because they were both chronically addicted, and he ended up losing custody of his kids, which that's not great.
Yeah, that sucks. That's not good.
Now, to the wedding. The ceremony was beautiful. Everything came together. Everyone was civil. My uncle even cleaned up and put on a white shirt and dress pants. We had the receiving line, took photos. It was absolutely perfect. Then we had some time before the reception to hang out with the bridal party. Enter the reception. Less people attended than we initially thought would, so that was a bit disappointing, but we all entered. Took our seats, and in entered my uncle, wearing a bright red and blue NASCAR shirt and a dusty old cowboy hat. Complete eyesore.
Hey,
honestly,
watch it now.
Honestly, that's funny. Like, that's the funkle.
I agree, and you better not be besmirching NASCAR. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I mean, yeah.
I think it's funny. I think it's lighthearted. I know he's trying to, stick out like a sore thumb, but like he's there to support you.
You can only choose how you respond to it, not how. Clearly, he's going to wear that. So now you can either be like, "That's funny," or you can be really
just
upset
embrace
about
it. You're like, all right, we can like if that's it, great. We shook it off. No issues. Okay, everything is fine.
Good.
Can't control what people wear. We all get food. Chef's kiss, delicious. Then speeches. Initially, the plan was supposed to be the best man, then the maid of honor, my mom, my husband's mom, and that's it. There wasn't supposed to be any open mic, but the MC dropped that ball as people still got up from their chairs to make a speech. Grandma was already 2 bottles of wine in,
Oh, yeah.
and she was completely wasted by the time she got up to the microphone. 2 bottles of wine? For little old grandma?
2 bottles of wine.
2
bottles of wine. You should have seen me back in my day. I could have put it back like nobody's business.
You know what? It happens at weddings. You can't control it. That means she was having a good time, I guess.
I mean, yeah, but she's also got a active addiction to alcohol, probably. But yeah, not great.
Her speech made no sense, and it trailed onto nonsense. Completely an embarrassment, especially when my main concern was that my husband's family would see my family as trash.
That's hilarious. She's like up there drunk talking about like, and a couple years ago,
I just renewed my vows.
Yeah, I renewed my vows 2 weeks ago, and honestly, you remember when those raccoons used to come into our backyard?
Jesus Christ.
It's like, oh God, they're gonna think we're trash.
Once that tragedy was over, we got up to do our first dance. No issues there. Because I had my father and my stepdad in attendance, I really wanted to have both of them dance with me. At my wedding, I started with my father, and halfway through the song, my stepdad cut in. It was beautiful. I was having lots of fun until my uncle, in his entitlement, got up in his tacky clothing and cut in on my stepdad, who already didn't like him. I was really surprised he didn't get punched out, but my stepdad didn't want to make a scene, so thankfully the DJ cut the song short because he realized that was not supposed to happen. I was angry.
Shout out, good DJ.
Yeah. Then it was my husband's turn to dance with his mom. He picked a very special song that meant a lot to him and her. Halfway through the song, my mom decided that she was going to get up and dance with him as well.
Oh.
we both went, oh.
No. Don't do that.
My mother-in-law was pissed, and so was my husband. He even said after he didn't mind so much that my mom cut in because it was a new mom, and he was really trying to make a good impression with her. The part that really ticked him off was my grandma decided to also get up and cut in on the dance.
Oh, no.
My grandma, who had no emotional connection to him, also wanted to get up and be a part of it instead of just letting my husband have a song with his mother.
Yeah, and then what are you supposed to do in the middle of your like heartfelt dance? You're supposed to be like, get away from me, get off of the stage.
Why? My question here is, why is no one stopping anyone here? Like everyone's just like, this is supposed to happen, right?
It is. It's just a free for all. Everyone's just like, I don't care. Hey, the more the merrier.
As the night went on, so did more cringy stuff. Grandma was intoxicated and stealing wine bottles from other tables. My uncle got up to catch the garter when my husband was tossing it, and he caught it. Very cringe.
No, dude. Honestly, that's hilarious.
Can you imagine? Interception!
that's actually really funny. I'm sorry.
Funkle,
I just don't think
got intercepted.
You're not appreciating how funny your uncle
Your uncle's
is.
actually really funny. I get it. This is in bad taste.
True.
But like, as a spectator, this is hilarious. I'm like, yo, I want to party with the uncle.
Him catching the garter in the NASCAR.
Yeah,
with the cowboy hat. Dude. That's hilarious.
Uncle was also completely wasted. Part of me wishes we didn't even have the booze at the wedding, but that's not changing now. My husband and I left our wedding by 10 p.m., but the party didn't end until midnight. But you know what never ends? Your ability to listen to episodes with stories just like this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search OK Storytime and we'll be there. We have a plethora of fun stories like that fun uncle all over.
Yes, we are truly the Fun Uncle podcast. Actually, no, we're not. We're OK Storytime.
We're OK Story. We're OK Storytime. There is a little bit more to the story, but at this point, it's out of your hands. I know it's a little embarrassing, but you just can't control people. Maybe you have like some family friends like, hey, kid, you make sure uncle and grandma don't do anything stupid.
Yes,
too stupid.
I think that's a good lesson to learn, is that you should have had someone running point on the problematic family members if you didn't want them getting up to shenanigans.
But I think the way it's being handled, because it seems like it's like for OP, it's very like, this is stressing me out, or like this is not the way I wanted it. But it seems like to the naked eye, to people who are just like spectating, like, okay, that's a little weird, or like whatever, they're having a little fun. It doesn't seem like anything's being really bad to us. It seems like it's not the worst thing that could have happened at a wedding or someone's wedding.
Yeah,
day.
I mean, like the vow renewal like weeks before was annoying, but it's like, it really doesn't have anything to do with you. It has to do with them, and it's like, it's not, it's not like it's the day before. It's not really stealing your thunder. It's
you probably inspired them. They're like, oh,
yeah, it's like
first grandchild is getting married. That's inspiring us. Love is love. All that stuff.
A lot of stuff like this mostly just falls back to how we perceive it, like as individuals. And if you could like cognitively reframe something, like even if like the truth of the matter is like that it's exploitive, or it's like it's kind of trying to put you down, if you can literally reframe it in your own head, it doesn't matter anymore, because now it's just all about how you perceive it and how you are feeling about it. So I don't know.
All in all, we had 2 villains for our wedding. Every other aspect was practically perfect in our minds. See, again, I think you're too hyper-fixated on the 2 villains. Yes, that sucks and it was annoying, but I think it was too hyper-fixated that they really didn't do too much bad stuff.
We might be like looking past the alcohol consumption.
I mean, that's
I think
bad.
we might be looking past that because we didn't see it. So it might have been really rough with that.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
We'll see.
Every other aspect was practically perfect in our minds. I definitely went through my wedding photos and deleted a bunch of my uncles being at the wedding. We have since gone super low contact with my uncle and only speak to him once, maybe twice a year, if he's at my grandmother's house. But he does not get invited to any other family events. My grandmother has since been on different medication, and we still talk because if she's not drinking, she's genuinely a lovely lady, and I like to bring my kids up to have a cup of tea every so often. That's my wedding drama, and that's the end of that story.
If you want more stories like this, search for our podcast, OK Storytime, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.